Hi and welcome. I'm so happy you're joining me today. Thank you for being on this training to learn about the anger algorithm. You're on this training because you're a powerful woman who needs to release bottled up anger without destroying your marriage using this revolutionary tool, the anger algorithm. After 8 years of marriage, I discovered the anger algorithm because I was so tired of suppressing, ignoring, and trying to control and manage my anger. It was coming at a serious cost to my health and well-being and affecting my connection to and communication with my partner. The anger algorithm is revolutionary because it's a step-by-step process to release and express anger instead of suppressing, controlling, and managing it. The algorithm shows you how to healthily and consciously feel angry. The algorithm also helps you understand what's at the root of your anger and gives you clarity about what you want so you can finally end the bickering and repetitive arguing that gets nowhere. You can use the algorithm to have powerful and compassionate conversations to improve your marriage. This training is for empowered women. This training is for you if you have a successful career, but that success hasn't necessarily translated to your marriage, specifically when handling anger and conflict. You've done personal development work by going to therapy and spiritual retreats, but nothing addresses the anger you suppress, ignore, control, and hide. While you're kind and compassionate, you're also in conflict with your dark side that you don't want your partner to see, feel, or hear. You love your partner and are committed to making your marriage work, but you're also exhausted and frustrated because you feel like you're working harder than him. Before we dive deeper, I have a disclaimer. The algorithm requires intention and will to do the work. My clients' results come from a deep need for personal growth and transformation. While the algorithm will change how you express anger, ultimately, you are responsible for your growth and progress. Your participation and commitment to working with the algorithm are entirely up to you. I'd love to know, is this you? Are you sick of arguing about the same old problem that never gets resolved? Do you ignore, suppress, control, hide, and manage your anger time and time again over little things that make you mad? Are you doing things for your partner that you don't want to be doing but then feel resentful? When your partner's words or actions trigger you, are there times when you don't realize you're angry until days later, but decide not to talk about it because too much time has passed? Is it confusing to admit that while you love your partner, there are times you can't stand to be around him? Do you believe that you have to accept and tolerate the things that bother and frustrate you because that's just what you do in a marriage? Maybe you've exploded a few times and it's given you some relief, but do you end up feeling regretful, sad, and hopeless because you don't know what else to do with all of your bottled up anger? Do you avoid conflict because you don't know how to handle disagreements and disappointments together? After arguing, do you hope that distance and silence will make your anger disappear? Do you secretly wonder how much longer you can tolerate the lingering unhappiness you feel, but are too scared to even think about separation, divorce, or invest again in couples therapy? Are you puzzled and perplexed that you haven't found a way to deal with your anger so you can skillfully navigate conflict to improve your marriage? There's a severe problem going on. Before I tell you what's happening, here are some facts. Here's a glimpse of today's divorce rates. Approximately 41% of first-time marriages end in divorce. 50% of all marriages end in divorce or separation. This statistic has been the same since 1975. Couples who stay married, only 50% are truly happy. So then what's the primary predictor for marital unhappiness and divorce? H. Markman and colleagues and John Gottman, both renowned and respected relationship researchers in the country, have separately conducted studies that found the primary predictor of marital unhappiness and divorce wasn't because of disappointment over finances, lack of sexual attraction, or lack of love. It's because of the way couples deal with and communicate their disagreements and disappointments, how they handle conflict, and how they handle anger. Many of us don't know how to express anger in a healthy and conscious way. How many of us have positive modeling for working through conflict and having difficult conversations? Many of us didn't have that positive modeling, so it's not surprising that the primary predictor of divorce and marital unhappiness is how couples handle anger and conflict. While there are tons of skills and strategies for maintaining positive communication during conflict, working together to problem solve and find solutions, managing and controlling anger, these skills and strategies aren't enough since divorce rates haven't changed much since 1975. Managing and controlling anger also isn't the answer. It certainly wasn't the answer for me. Managing and controlling anger only led to more and more suppressed anger and blocked me from understanding what I truly wanted. Given all of this, how did I deal with my bottled up anger so that I could finally talk about why I was mad without yelling, being mean, and starting an argument? So that I could finally talk about why I was unhappy without blaming my partner? So that I could finally talk about what I truly wanted in my marriage and what needed to change to make it work? The solution? The anger algorithm. The anger algorithm is unique and revolutionary. I used to think anger and rage were shameful to express and that I had to hide and bury these feelings. I'm curious to know, what do you think about anger? It's very likely when you think about anger, you think of something destructive. There's no judgment here. It just is. And for all of my clients and all those who've attended my workshops and trainings, they definitely thought anger was something harmful. If you think anger is harmful or destructive, imagine how this stops you from authentically expressing yourself. Imagine all the ways you hold yourself back from feeling angry. And if you're holding back from feeling a normal feeling like anger, imagine all the ways you're holding back in your marriage and in your life. Here's why the anger algorithm is unique and revolutionary. This is not an anger management tool. This process isn't just about venting or punching your pillow. This process isn't about counting to 10 or exercising. With the anger algorithm, there's no more holding back your anger, holding in your anger, controlling and managing your anger, suppressing your anger, stuffing your anger, or fighting to ignore your anger. The anger algorithm is about paying attention to yourself so you can fully express anger that feels authentic to you. It's about learning how to release and express bottled up anger without ruining your marriage. It's about understanding what you're really angry about so you can start talking instead of arguing. When you start to work with the anger algorithm, what you think about anger changes. Hi, I'm Vanessa Alfaro. I've been a coach for over a decade. The anger algorithm radically changed and saved my life at a soul level. My clients have experienced profound, deep transformation that completely changed what they thought about anger, how they expressed anger, and how they communicated and worked through conflict. Here's what's powerful about the anger algorithm and how it can help you. In my research and working with married women over the years, there are 5 reasons why anger has caused them so many issues in their marriage. Here's the first reason. You might have to ignore and suppress anger because you don't know how to express it without yelling and screaming. But when yelling and screaming happen, I like to illustrate the aftermath with from dirty dishes to threats of divorce. Here are the challenges when you feel like you have to ignore and suppress your anger. When your partner does something like he doesn't pick up his socks, he leaves his dirty dishes in the sink, or whatever that thing is, you ignore your anger because it seems trivial and immature to make a big deal out of something that you can easily do. Instead of asking him to wash his dishes, you bitterly do them for him. It isn't until days later that you start feeling how angry you are, but you decide to say nothing and hope it goes away. After continuing to suppress anger over the same trivial thing, inevitably it comes out in a destructive way. The next time you see his dirty dishes, you start yelling, he's confused, and suddenly you're both arguing without resolution or understanding. The aftermath: when you get angry over little things that trigger you, you end up feeling silly and embarrassed because it's unbelievably uncomfortable to admit that you're angry over dirty dishes or things that seem petty. You're irritated and resentful doing things for him that you don't want to be doing. After creating an argument over something you think you shouldn't make a big deal out of, you're sad, hurt, and full of regret. I understand. I've been there many times. I used to work so hard not to feel angry because I was so afraid of how my partner would respond to me or not. Not only was it hard, it was actually painful for me to say, "I'm angry because you didn't wash your dishes. Will you please wash your dishes?" Why was that so fucking hard? What was I afraid of? It was so hard because I was afraid that by uttering the word angry, we would start to argue. I was afraid that he would get angry right back. I was afraid that he wouldn't be there to support me. And my ultimate fear was that he would leave me and suddenly divorce would be on the table. So I stayed silent, held it in, and tried whatever anger management exercise I had in my toolbox, but disastrously, I would fucking explode. My explosive outbursts were problematic because my partner didn't want me to take my anger out on him. I hurt him with my yelling and the mean things I would regretfully say. I felt ashamed. And of course, I didn't want to direct my anger towards him, but I didn't know what to do. And one day I thought, this doesn't make sense because it's normal to feel angry. Is it possible to express anger in a healthy way? There must be a way to release and express it so I'm not ignoring and suppressing it. So I started to search for an answer, and what I discovered and developed was the anger algorithm. And this process changed my life. I finally had permission to authentically and consciously release anger, express it, and understand what was pissing me off. When I finally was able to release this wild, powerful energy from my body, I came away with clarity for what I truly wanted. Was I furious about the dirty dishes? Yes. But what I discovered from the anger algorithm, I was ultimately hurt because I wanted more support from my partner. I finally had the tools to ask, "I'd like your help. Will you please wash your dishes?" And after working through the algorithm and having a conversation, all the bottled up anger I was holding was miraculously gone. That 100-pound weight of angry energy was just gone. And I've become an expert at noticing when I'm suppressing my angry feelings. And when I notice I'm suppressing anger, I work through the algorithm. And every time I work through it, my soul becomes freer, more at peace, healthier, and alive. Here's what changes. With the anger algorithm, you don't have to ignore your anger anymore. It doesn't matter what you're angry about or how trivial or petty you think it is, because you now have a process to release angry feelings. Once you release this wild, powerful energy from your body, you'll finally feel relieved and relaxed so you can calmly ask him to pick up his socks or wash his dishes. By using the algorithm, you'll start to notice when you're suppressing angry feelings so you can simply say, "I'm angry," without worry and discomfort. When you see socks on the floor and dirty dishes in the sink again, you'll know how to confidently ask for what you need from your partner instead of starting an argument and yelling match. Here's Tracy, a former client. Before I tell you about my clients' stories for privacy and confidentiality, I changed my clients' names and modified their personal stories. Tracy was married for 5 years. She was depressed, disconnected from herself, and felt dead inside because it was hard to access her emotions. She also lived with suppressed anger that she felt daily throughout her chest and throat, like a smoldering fire just under the surface, ready to ignite at any moment. Unfortunately, when she would get triggered because her partner didn't help out with the chores at home, didn't empty the dishwasher or take the dog out for a walk, she'd start yelling and create a nasty argument. She hated that she couldn't control herself and felt awful for making a big deal out of something that seemed easy to address. In our work together, here's what changed and her results. With the anger algorithm, because Tracy learned how to feel emotions and release anger, she started to feel alive and less depressed. She learned to identify when she would suppress anger so she could use the algorithm to release and express it and clear the tightness and pressure she felt in her chest and throat. The anger algorithm also gave her so much relief and understanding about herself that she was able to openly and calmly talk to her partner about the things that made her mad. The second reason why anger causes issues in marriages is that you might have to stay silent and distant for days, hoping your anger disappears. To illustrate this reason, let's talk about when having sex didn't fix your problem. The challenges. For years, you and your partner argue about the same old thing that never gets resolved, like he's constantly late. So when he's late again and the same old argument starts again, you're angry because you don't know how to fix this problem. So you stay silent and keep a safe distance from him, knowing that with some time, the argument and your anger will eventually disappear. After days pass with nothing resolved, to repair what happened, you might do something that you're not quite ready for, like have sex. Reluctantly, you have sex to create connection and peace, but having sex was a balm and temporary relief from the persistent problem that will rear its ugly head again and again. The aftermath? When you're arguing with your partner about the same old thing, you shut down, seethe, and want to give up. You end up feeling disconnected, weary, edgy, and withdrawn because it's painful and grueling to stay silent and keep your distance for days. Even though the sex was great, because you reluctantly had it, you're disappointed, suspicious, and feel that familiar tightness in your stomach from lingering anger. As a woman, I get this. I too would have sex with my beloved thinking that it was the answer to fix our problems. I hope that having sex would dissolve my inner resentment and help me reconnect to my partner. And while the reconnection happened, my resentment didn't go away because I knew the connection was temporary. Unfortunately, because I knew that having sex wasn't the answer, my resentment, along with my rage, were growing. And when the same old argument happened again, my patience was so thin, I was sick of trying to have compassion, and I was ready to fucking explode. But I knew I couldn't explode, and I worked hard to hold it in. Suppressing this angry energy time and time again, hoping that it would go away, left me exhausted and hopeless, and I didn't know what to do. I loved my partner and desperately wanted to end the same argument that we'd been having for years. We both tried to figure it out together through couples counseling, but that didn't work, so I tried to figure it out on my own. My exercise regime wasn't helping. My mindful breathing and personal growth workshops didn't save me, but I refused to give up. There had to be a way to release this resentment, anger, and rage that I was holding in. And with the anger algorithm, I finally had permission to authentically release the bottled up resentment and rage that I'd been carrying around for years. And after releasing my rage, I could drop into my inner wisdom and think clearly about what I wanted. And what I wanted was simple. I wanted to stay connected during the painful times too. I learned how to stop engaging in my old patterns that were part of the repetitive arguing, and I learned how to stay connected through the discomfort that we were both feeling from the same old problem. I also stopped using sex as a temporary fix. Here's what changes. You can use the anger algorithm to end what keeps making you mad so you don't have to stay silent and distant for days. The algorithm helps you understand why you're engaging in the same old argument so you can radically change what keeps you stuck. Because when you release bottled up anger and rage, you're able to drop into your inner wisdom to find creative solutions to fix what's wrong. You'll learn how to stay connected during the discomfort when an argument happens again. And when you start to talk about creative solutions that end the same old argument, you'll feel closer and more loving so that when you do have sex, you're open, excited, and ready for deeper connection. Maria was newly married. She was ragefully jealous of her partner's female friends and colleagues, and the thought of him with another woman made her feel hostile, violent, terrified, and frantic. They got into repetitive, heated arguments about her jealousy, but instead of yelling and screaming, she felt emotionally out of control, often expressing herself through unleashed tears to the point where she couldn't think and talk. She hated her jealous reactions and was angry with herself for feeling insecure and unlovable. Maria didn't know how to fix the problem, so she kept her distance and stayed silent. And to repair the jealous fight, with humiliation and hesitation, she'd eventually apologize. Here's what changed and her results. Maria was highly sensitive and aware of her intense feelings, so using the anger algorithm to relieve anger and other intense feelings helped her feel at ease, open, and self-accepting. She used the algorithm to release and heal the angry, jealous part in her so she could finally and confidently talk to her partner about why she was jealous and what she needed. She stopped feeling out of control with her emotions and began to feel self-assured and more secure within because the algorithm showed her how to take care of her inner emotional experience. The third reason for anger issues in marriages is that you might have to work hard to control and hide your anger because you don't know how to express it without being passive-aggressive. Here's an example that many of us are all too familiar with. Ugh, you send a passive-aggressive text. The challenges. When your partner doesn't listen to you, ignores you, or whatever he does that infuriates you, you passive-aggressively react because it's how you control and hide your anger to avoid conflict. You want him to know you're mad without you actually telling him that you're mad. So you fire off short, scornful, off-the-cuff, passive-aggressive texts. But then you end up on a rumination roller coaster debating whether or not you should text him again. The aftermath? When you get mad because your partner didn't listen to you and you passive-aggressively react, you feel immature and awkward. You're exhausted from ruminating and having to work so hard to control and hide your anger just to avoid conflict. You question yourself, debating whether or not you should make things right. This leaves you anguished, insecure, and worried that he'll reject you or you'll lose his love. Oh, have I been there? When I didn't feel heard and was ignored, I tried to punish my partner with my passive-aggressive behavior. When my partner didn't listen to me, it felt like I was betrayed. And that sent my angerometer from 0 to 250 in a second. I wanted to fucking destroy him. So before text, what did I do with my passive-aggressive, angry energy? I was cold, silent, and mad for days. And in my silence, I was flooded with ruminating thoughts. Worse yet, making myself stay silent was soul-crushing. It left me feeling exhausted and boxed into a silent prison. It's sad to think that my only solution was to silence myself, ruminate, and not communicate. So why did I stay silent and ruminate? It was a way to control my anger because my anger scared me. I was afraid of the damage it would cause in my marriage if I dared express it, because I knew who on earth would tolerate such behavior. What's more devastating, I didn't know what to do about my anger, so the only solution was to hold it all in. I spent years hiding my anger and rage, never wanting anyone to see it, hear it, or feel it. And I believed my partner would reject me and stop loving me. I was so alone with my anger and rage, trying everything under the sun to manage and control it, but nothing was addressing it. And even though my healing work transformed my life, there still was a weight in my belly. I knew I was holding back from something, but I didn't know what. When I realized I was holding in my anger, I thought there must be a healthy way to express it. With the algorithm, there's no more controlling and managing my anger. It was a relief to finally have permission to release and express this natural, wild, angry part in me. Instead of feeling shame and hiding my anger, I started to embrace it because I knew healing and growth would come from it. Here's what changes. The anger algorithm liberates you from reacting passive-aggressively because it radically changes how you express and experience anger. You get to own feeling angry. There's no more controlling and hiding. You'll get off the rumination roller coaster and start feeling steady and secure because you get to the heart of and understand why you're furious. You don't have to be afraid of conflict. Instead, you'll feel empowered because you'll know exactly what to say, how to say it, and learn how to navigate disagreements and conflicts skillfully. Jackie was married for 12 years with the daughter and worked full-time managing a team. While she was a powerhouse at work, she was out of balance at home. She struggled with setting healthy boundaries and saying no because she felt a deep obligation to do more for her family than for herself. She often felt anger brewing, but hated feeling it because she wanted to keep the peace at home. So when her partner would spend time with his friends when she needed his help, she would passive aggressively react by withholding sex or making indirect negative comments about how little he did for her. By reacting passive aggressively, she created inner turmoil that conflicted with her caring and compassionate sides, causing her to feel detached and in self-doubt. Here's what changed in her results. Using the anger algorithm's step-by-step process, Jackie changed how she related to anger, realized the importance of feeling angry, and stopped reacting passive-aggressively. Releasing anger helped her say no to things she'd usually say yes to so she could have more time for herself. Jackie felt more at peace and balanced within because she learned how to integrate both her compassionate and angry sides. She even started modeling for her daughter how to express anger in a healthy way. Here's the fourth reason. It might be that you think if you express anger, it's destructive, toxic, and harmful energy will ruin your marriage. Here's an example of when all your anger management tools are no longer helping, including when your Zen breathing isn't working. The challenges. You and your partner are arguing and he says something hurtful like you're being dramatic or you're being childish. You take deep Zen breaths, but it's not working because all you can see is red. Suddenly, a flurry of angry, mean thoughts take hold of you. You're pissed off and you start to feel that familiar urge to destroy, but you know you've got to keep your anger in check because it gets ugly when you lose your shit. You deliberately stuff your anger and storm away since you don't know what else to do. And what's worse, there's a buildup of all the upsetting things you've ignored time and time again, and since your patience is thin, you just might explode at any moment. The aftermath. When you feel the urge to destroy, you're perplexed and hopeless because you've done your work and you've healed the past, but wonder, oh no, how much more therapy and anger management do I need? When none of your anger management tools are helping and your angry outburst is no longer an option, you end up fighting yourself to control your rage, but end up feeling like you're going to implode. Having little patience and a buildup of ignored triggers leaves you heavy and listless with the bottomless pit of repressed rage you don't know what to do with or how to expel. I'll be the first to admit that I wanted to destroy when I felt hurt by my partner's words or actions. But I became a fucking master at suppressing my angry feelings because of my MO, destructive, rageful outbursts. My explosions included yelling and saying mean things that I always regretted. And the aftermath of those rageful outbursts left me feeling ashamed and embarrassed. So I did everything I could to not feel a tinge of anger. I believed the solution was to squash my angry feelings altogether. And it was painfully uncomfortable to squash my anger. Justifying why I shouldn't be angry about feeling hurt was such a waste of my precious time and energy. Then I realized, of course, I have a right to feel angry. It's our birthright to experience and express feelings. But many of us were never taught how to express them consciously and healthily. Still, I made a conscious choice that I wanted to learn how to feel angry without creating massive destruction, hurting myself and my beloved. The anger algorithm was a relief because I had permission to be with my authentic angry expression. And from the algorithm, I learned how to release anger and get clear on addressing those hurtful moments. I knew what to say to my beloved. I knew how to say it without yelling, screaming, and being mean. So now, instead of feeling uncomfortable with angry feelings, holding anger in, suppressing it, working so hard to control myself, I seize the moment. I embrace this rageful part in me because I have a powerful tool to release and work through my anger. The algorithm has saved my life. Here's what changes. When you feel the urge to destroy, instead of erupting into a rageful outburst and losing control, You'll know how to take care of yourself at that moment by giving yourself private time to unleash this angry, destructive energy that's trapped in your body so you can heal. When you're at your wit's end because all of your other tools fail to keep your anger in check, use the algorithm to stop fighting yourself from feeling angry. The algorithm helps you get rid of and clear all the repressed anger you've been carrying around so your heart, mind, and body feel lighter and freer. Here's my client Samantha, who was in a demanding leadership role and married for 8 years. She struggled with out-of-control rage, had a horrible time communicating with one of her direct reports, and without fail came home rageful. Her suppressed rage from work prevented her from living her life and enjoying her time at work, at home, and with her partner. Her tight, clenched, contracted body left her ready for an explosion. So any little thing that happened at home would set her off. And while she tried anger management tools to calm down, the only thing that relieved her was punching another hole in the wall or smashing a cell phone to pieces. Samantha's partner was frightened whenever a rageful outburst happened and couldn't take it anymore. Samantha felt horrible about her rage's impact on their marriage and the distress her beloved felt from it. Samantha was ready for help and knew she needed to address what was happening at work and the painful damage her rage was causing in her marriage. Trying to manage and contain her rage at work, but then having rageful outbursts at home were no longer options. She needed something radically different. The anger algorithm gave Samantha permission to express and release rage without impacting or hurting anyone around her, especially her beloved. As her body relaxed and her heart opened, she finally understood what was making her mad at work, and she started to powerfully lead and effectively communicate to her direct reports. Because the algorithm also helped her create inner peace, she stopped destroying cell phones and punching holes in the walls. Her inner peace reverberated at work, permeated her home, and shifted her connection to her partner. They finally started to have fun together and enjoy each other's company. Here's the 5th reason. It might be that you can't be angry because your partner won't tolerate it. This reason can manifest in many ways, and here's an example of how it might show up in your life. You're finding that over time, your partner annoys the shit out of you by any little thing he says or does. The challenge is, when he annoyingly talks over you, you imagine cussing him out and laying into him, but extinguish those thoughts and pretend there's nothing wrong because he can't tolerate how you express anger. But when he keeps talking over you and when you ask him for the millionth time to stop, since he won't tolerate your anger, you bite your tongue and eat your words, but end up being sarcastic, mean, and impatient with him. So then you might end up managing your annoyance and frustration by drinking more, eating until you're stuffed, exercising until your body hurts, or buying something expensive without telling him. The aftermath? When you extinguish your thoughts and pretend there's nothing wrong, you end up angry anyway and desperate for something to change. You feel powerless and think, this is just who he is and I have to tolerate it. When you're sarcastic, mean, and impatient with him, you feel wicked, contrite, and baffled because you love him but can't stand him when he annoys you. And when you're overeating, exercising, and drinking too much or secretly spending, you feel terrible and remorseful and wonder why it's so hard to take better care of yourself. My rage was a problem in my marriage and my partner wouldn't have it. So when we would argue about the things that annoyed the shit out of me, the moment I raised my voice, I knew I had to leave or else my rage was going to create massive destruction. I would leave the scene to save him and myself from a rageful outburst. Then I would try to breathe my way through my rage as boiling tears rolled down my face. But I could feel rage in my heart, in my head, and in my belly. My rage was red hot like a volcano ready to explode. I just couldn't and wouldn't let myself go there because I was terrified I would be swallowed by rage's holy hellfire. And I was frightened that if I surrendered to giving into my rageful outburst, I would never recover and come out of rage's black hole alive. Holding in rage was poisoning my body and coming at a serious cost to my health and well-being. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease and could feel in my belly that I was holding back from fully living my life. I was holding back my divine, authentic expression. I was holding back my sexual expression. I was holding back my power. I was holding back being seen. I was holding back shining my light as bright as I could. I was holding back my self-acceptance and self-love, and I was holding back my rage. When I finally gave myself permission to actually release the rage I was holding and work through the 8 steps I created using the algorithm, I knew that was the answer. Working through the anger algorithm and moving through the full expression of releasing anger, not just venting, but by accessing my vulnerability and giving myself permission to really feel, I stopped holding back in my life. And even though I would still take space when things got heated, I had this tool that helped me release my rage and get clear on what was making me mad. I also use the algorithm to prepare for heartfelt conversations and finally learn how to gracefully and wisely talk about why I was so annoyed and what I truly needed. And I still use the algorithm to this day. Here's what changes. The anger algorithm isn't about masking your anger. It's an 8-step process that shows you how to express your anger in a way that feels authentic to you. You won't have to succumb to meanness and sarcasm because you'll get to the truth of why you're so annoyed and then discover what you can do about it. The algorithm teaches you how to value your angry feelings because what you're feeling, thinking, and what you have to say matters. When you value, in other words, love yourself and your experience, you won't have to pretend and tolerate. When you start giving yourself permission to release anger and rage, healing happens and other feelings like anxiety, depression, guilt, and regret begin to dissolve, so your inner peace begins to expand. Alice was married for 17 years. Alice was at her wit's end because she didn't know what to do about the relentless anger, annoyance, and frustration she was harboring for her partner because she felt like she was doing all the work to save their marriage. Her love and hate for him left her confused. She started drinking more to numb her hopelessness when she couldn't stand to be around him at times. Alice also knew that her rage and resentment for him kept her stuck despite all of her growth work. Here's what changed in her results. In our work together, Alice used the anger algorithm to release the anger she felt towards her husband for not being interested in saving their marriage. The algorithm helped her understand what was at the root of her anger. She desperately wanted him to change. The transformative shift for her came when she surrendered to her change by owning what she was angry about and taking responsibility for her part in their dynamic that was perpetuating their problems. And since she was determined to change herself, she started to believe that it might be possible for him to change. Focusing on her healing, growth, and expansion helped her make a better decision to invite him to fix their problems together or go in another direction. This wasn't an easy decision, but it was a truthful decision for her and a decision that she needed support and help with to uncover. Let's review the 5 reasons anger causes issues in marriages. You might have to ignore and suppress anger because you don't know how to express it without yelling and screaming. You might have to stay silent and distant for days, hoping your anger disappears. You might have to work hard to control and hide your anger because you don't know how to express it without being passive-aggressive. If you express anger, its destructive, toxic, and harmful energy will ruin your marriage. And you can't be angry because your partner won't tolerate it. The anger algorithm is for empowered women like you who need to release bottled up anger so you can skillfully navigate conflict to improve your marriage. When you use the algorithm to release anger, what you think about anger changes, how you express anger changes, your conversations change. As you work with the algorithm, you'll know when you're suppressing anger. Instead of holding it in, ruminating, and staying angry for days, You'll be able to release it quickly so you can get clear on what you need. Anger management tools tell you to control your anger, breathe, count to 10, exercise, vent, or don't vent because it's bad. But it's not enough to do these things. And it's why I created the anger algorithm, so you don't have to control, suppress, ignore, count, or feel bad about authentically expressing yourself. You'll release anger to feel relieved and understand why you're mad so you can talk to your partner. The anger algorithm is different because what most married women do is they tolerate the things that annoy them, talk themselves out of feeling angry, believe that on some deep level they don't have a right to feel angry. But they end up wondering how on earth are they going to make their marriage work when they're avoiding their marital problems. The anger algorithm is revolutionary because you experience the full expression of anger. It's not just about venting, breathing, or being the bigger and better person. You'll go from bottled up anger to clarity, presence, and understanding so you can talk about ways to improve your marriage. But what if nothing changes? If nothing changes, what are the financial costs? If you end up separating and ultimately divorcing, depending on the state you live in, the average cost of divorce with attorney fees ranges from $6,000 to $17,000 and more, and it could definitely be much more if you have children and assets to consider. If nothing changes, what are the lifestyle costs? If nothing changes, what are the emotional costs? If nothing changes, what are the health costs? If nothing changes, what impact will this continue to have on your marriage? What's the cost to your heart and soul? What's your solution? Is it figuring this out on your own? Is it waiting for him to do the work and change? Is it waiting for things to get terrible? Is it more suppressing and ignoring your anger? Is it taking another anger management personal development workshop? Is it going to therapy again and cycling through your past to figure out why you're mad? Is it wondering when it might be time to divorce? What is it? Isn't this just more of the same where time is passing, you're getting angrier and unhappier, you're both becoming more distant and withdrawn while nothing is really changing? If nothing changes, everything that pisses you off won't change. You'll continue to suppress more, bottle up more, ignore more, until you can no longer tolerate the disagreements, disappointments, and endless bickering and arguing. The answer to ignoring anger, suppressing anger, and avoiding important conversations necessary to have with your partner to improve your marriage is your willingness to turn towards yourself deeply and compassionately by releasing anger and learning how to navigate conflict using the anger algorithm. Given everything that has happened over the past 2 years where cooped-up couples have been home, I'm going to predict that divorce rates are going to rapidly increase at a startling rate. Remember the divorce rates? Approximately 41% of first-time marriages end in divorce. 50% of all marriages end in divorce or separation, which has been the same since 1975. And couples who stay married, only 50% are truly happy. And remember the primary predictor of marital unhappiness and divorce? It's not because of disappointment over finances, lack of sexual attraction, or lack of love. It's because of the way couples deal with and communicate their disagreements and disappointments, how they navigate conflict, and how they handle anger. What if you could go back in time? What if you went back to when you were certain you married your soulmate? Before you started changing your behavior to please him? Before you started to feel annoyed being around him? Before you started suppressing your anger? Before you started avoiding conflict? Before you started avoiding working through your problems? before you started the endless arguing that gets nowhere. Unfortunately, we can't turn back the clock. And do you know what's limited and scarce? Do you know what's more precious and valuable than gold? Your time. If you don't fix this now, then when? There's no more time to waste because your life is precious and short. The time is now. And here's what we can do to fix this. I want to share with you what I learned. I spent 25 years and over 6 figures in personal growth and development work. I've spent the better part of my life dealing with my anger and rage by exercising, breathing, meditating, going to therapy, and attending spiritual retreats. I also tried to control, suppress, ignore, and manage my anger. I put everything I have invested and learned into the anger algorithm. I want to tell you how powerful and revolutionary the anger algorithm is. For free. Yes, for free. I invite you to schedule some time to go over how the anger algorithm is going to help you. I'll show you exactly how the algorithm helps you release bottled up anger and rage so you can talk to your partner about ways to improve your marriage. You might be wondering, why is she doing this for free? You might also be wondering, what's the risk? Before I tell you why I'm doing this for free and why there's no risk, the anger algorithm helps you know exactly how to create relief, peace, and understanding for what you want in your marriage. I use the anger algorithm with all of my clients, and my clients continue to use it long after working with me. It's a lifelong asset. We're going to find out what problems anger causes in your marriage and what you genuinely want to change. Then we'll use this information to determine precisely how the anger algorithm will help you. You'll know what you need to create inner peace, understanding, and relief so you can confidently talk to your partner about what you need in your marriage. Finally, we'll talk about the next step you need to take. Here's why I'm doing this for free. I'm not here to sell anything to you. I'm here to help you get clear and show you how the anger algorithm works. At the end of our conversation, I'll simply ask if you'd like my help. You can say no or yes. Gaining the level of clarity that you need to simply say no or yes is powerful. And here's why there's no risk. Since I only take on a handful of clients every month, we might not even talk about working together. The worst thing that will happen is understanding how the anger algorithm helps you release bottled up anger. The best thing that could happen is you'll love the anger algorithm and you'll want my help releasing bottled up anger so you can start having empowered conversations. Go to callwithvanessa.com to schedule a time to talk. Tracy used the algorithm to release anger so she could openly and calmly talk to her partner about the things that made her mad. Maria used the algorithm to release and heal the angry, jealous part in her to end the repetitive arguing finally. Jackie used the algorithm to radically change how she related to anger and stopped being passive-aggressive. Samantha used the algorithm to express and release rage without impacting or hurting anyone around her, especially her partner. Alice used the algorithm to release the anger she felt for her husband to make better decisions about what she truly wanted in her marriage. If they did it, you can do it. Tracy, Maria, Jackie, Samantha, and Alice all used the anger algorithm to release bottled up anger so they could start having empowered conversations. What they thought about anger radically changed. What do I think about anger now? It's an opportunity. Take this opportunity right now to book your free call with me today. Go to callwithvanessa.com.